Getting.
Nice to meet ya.
Thank you.
Go back to your spot.
Ready? All right. Career Ready starts here. Whether you're a CEO of a business or a freshman student, most careers start at some sort of desk. Hi, we are team number 62, and we are the Watertown High School chapter display team from Wisconsin.
The stereotypical display brings to mind shiny billboards, or even the classic trifold from the science fair days, but not a desk. We considered everything from pinball machines to goldfish lamps, and everything in between, before deciding on our desk.
The first thing we did as a team was sit down and brainstorm in December. As we tossed around ideas, the thought of creating a desk to represent our chapter seemed like the best way to go. After we knew the concept of the desk, we needed to visualize what it was going to look like. Our chapter's vice president, Lily Schwartz, drew up multiple variations of what our desk would look like for us to vote on. Ultimately, the design that we picked looked very similar to this.
While engineering our display, one of the aspects we considered was the transportation of it. We were very careful to make sure the desk could be put together and carried if we just had the three of us. Before we remove anything else, we put all of the items into large tubs. The desktop is then removed and the two bookshelves are moved separately. The larger of the two is put on a cart and pushed by one person. The floor is then removed and the base is one piece that is carried by two people.
After choosing our design, we decided to construct a full-scale cardboard model of our display. We did this so we could have an accurate visual of what it was going to look like and to see any issues that we may encounter.
Next, we moved into the woodshop in February, where our blueprints became reality. We didn't have the necessary woodshop experience, so there was quite a learning curve. Luckily, we received help with the creation of our display from members of our chapter. We proceeded to measure and cut the boards following the dimensions of our cardboard model and CAD drawing. While constructing the display in March, we decided to CNC router a design into the top of the desktop.
The first design we chose was a Wordle with the SkillsUSA competitions in the shape of our home state, Wisconsin. Although this would have looked amazing on our desk, it proved to be too difficult for the CNC we had access to. So instead we substituted it for something a little less intricate but just as important. The SkillsUSA logo with Watertown, Wisconsin written underneath to represent our chapter.
Epoxy was pretty much a new medium for everybody in our chapter, so we had to learn how to use the new material through trial and error, and a lot of it. Although our test pieces went perfectly, the desktop didn't harden correctly the first time. We attempted to scrape off the epoxy, but this just made things worse. So we tried again, and this time the epoxy hardened just as it was supposed to.
As we were working on the desktop, we decided to make more use of our vertical space by adding a base for the desk to sit on. It was a good place to put this year's motto, Career Ready Starts Here, and to add a linoleum floor to give a more finished look to the display. Lily designed the base, and one of our industry partners, K&S Manufacturing, graciously supplied the metal and cut the letters on their laser cutters. Once we received the parts they machined for us, they were welded together by our chapter's president, Kayleen Lonice. Once the structure was completed, we were able to make some decisions about the design. Black was chosen for the color of the base and fog plexiglass for the letters. Bryce and Clark, a member of our chapter, took some time to spray paint the base and cut the plexiglass, but it was only applied right before state competition.
Before we were ready for the state conference, however, we needed to pick all the items to put on our desk. Each item was selected with one question in mind. Does this represent our chapter? If it didn't, it was left behind. We also made a few more alterations to the desk, like adding a chalkboard surface and choosing a stool over a typical chair. We also added a corkboard so we could display more pictures of our chapter.
After the state conference and our victory on May 1st, we vowed to do even better. Our first concern was using every space available to us on our chapter display. At state, the back of our bookshelf was left blank, but we modified it and added a custom black backplate featuring information about how our chapter follows the SkillsUSA framework, complete with the custom backplate made from Nicholson Manufacturing and a video showing some of our alumni made by our silver medal broadcast news team. We also upgraded from a filament roll on the desk to a working 3D printer. 3D printing is a huge part of our chapter, so we knew it would fit right in. We also made some more minor changes, like adding lights to the base and CNC bit holders.
One of the most difficult aspects of recruiting future SkillsUSA members is the inability to teach what SkillsUSA is. SkillsUSA is so many different things to so many different people that it can be hard to describe, especially to those who aren't familiar with it. This display fully expresses everything that SkillsUSA has to offer and the jobs it prepares its members for. Every single item highlights a different aspect of SkillsUSA, while the slideshow describes in further depth just what our chapter does. On the back of the display is a video with some of our alumni teaching those who watch what they received from being a part of our chapter. All of this is in hopes that we can use this information to influence future members.
We received a lot of help along the way while creating this display. Including the three of us, about half of our high school chapter was involved, even if it was just with one little thing. On an average workday, we spent about 5 hours in the shop, for a total of about 170 hours. Our high school advisors were also a huge part of the project and oversaw different processes. This display definitely couldn't have been created if it wasn't for all the help we received.
This display was not a cheap project for us. At the time of the state conference, we had already spent $1,000+ creating it. Even with some of the bigger and more expensive pieces being donated to us, we have spent a grand total of $1,300 on our amazing chapter display.
From the start to the finish of this project, we have been focused on creating a display that portrays the theme, Career Ready Starts Here. With the help of our industry partners and high school SkillsUSA chapter, our display turned out just as we had imagined. We couldn't be prouder of the way everyone came together to create a display of the best quality that we can produce. We invite you to come over, sit down at the desk, type something out on the keyboard, and learn something about our chapter.